In Palestine, health authorities report nearly 260 people dead in new Israeli attacks following the operation of the Palestinian resistance defending their territories. In Ecuador, at least 6 people died due to an event inside a detention center in Guayaquil. And in Afghanistan, a series of earthquakes shocked the country's border with Iran, leaving 2,000 deaths and more than 1,000 wounded. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll be with the news. Stay with us. Estoy en negro. The escalation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues from Gaza. Our correspondent Nordo, who's sent reports on overnight developments in Gaza. Let's see.
It was one very intense, very horrific night on the people of Gaza, with the continuous explosions and Israeli airstrikes on the coastal enclave. The Israeli military said in a statement this morning that they attacked 426 targets in the Gaza Strip during the night, including 10 buildings. What you are seeing behind me is Al Watan Tower, which is a 14-story tower that was targeted during the night. And this is not the only residential building that was destroyed in Gaza during this series of airstrikes. We're talking about more than 10 residential buildings. Israeli warplanes also targeted farms and sites and homes for citizens and also for leaders in the Hamas movement. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, 265 people were killed and more than 1,800 were reported injured. For now, hundreds of Palestinian families who are residing close to the borderline between Gaza and Israel are leaving their homes, fleeing their homes and taking shelter in the UN schools in central Gaza City. But as we are witnessing and what we are seeing, we can clearly say that there is no place safe here in the Gaza Strip. Nur Harazin, teleSUR, Gaza.
Politicians, lawmakers, and large sections of the Israeli press today called for a military ground assault on the populous Gaza Strip to destroy the Islamic resistance movement Hamas. The parliamentarian and leaders of the right-wing Israeli Veteran Party, Ecuador, Lieberman, formulated that if Chief of Staff Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant announced that they will eliminate Hamas and its leaders, it will join an emergency national unity government without conditions. In other comments yesterday on the social network X, formerly Twittered, Lieberman, who held the defense portfolio, acknowledged that a military operation in that coastal enclave is dangerous, but urged to clear that territory so that none of the Hamas leadership is left alive. Thousands of missiles were fired on Saturday at the Israeli city of Tel Aviv and nearby areas, a local media report. Times of Israel report that air defense sirens were activated in a number of Israeli cities, including Bat Yam, Rishon LeZion, and Be'er Yaakov. Haaretz reported that 7 people were injured as a result of the impact of the 2 missiles in Tel Aviv. In addition, the attack left 3 injured in Rishon LeZion and 1 in Yavnev. Meanwhile, passengers on a flight that had just landed to Tel Aviv airport were forced to lie on the ground in the middle of the railway after the air defense sirens were activated by the sound of the multiple explosions. The missiles launch comes after the Hamas movement threatens to attack the city in response to the shelling of 2 high-rise buildings in the Gaza Strip. According to Times of Israel, the buildings in question were used by Hamas members. In this context, the Palestinian Health Ministry reported nearly 265 deaths following Israeli bombardments of alleged military targets in the Gaza Strip. Health authorities add that over 1,800 people were injured. However, in the context of the Israeli aggression, this figure is expected to increase. Operation Iron Sword was announced by the Israeli Ministry of Defense in response to the attempts of the Palestinian resistance to recover its territory. In that sense, local media warns that Israeli fighters' plans continue to attack residential buildings and refugee camps, and also warns that the rockets fired by Tel Aviv are affecting agricultural lands and nearby houses. On Saturday, the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates extended the ending of the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories in the only guarantee for peace, security, and stability in the region. The Foreign Ministry, in a statement, said to have repeatedly warned of the consequences of the deadlock, the political horizon, and not granting the Palestinian people their legitimate right to self-determination and their state, as well as of consequences of the daily provocations and attacks, the continued terrorism of shelters and occupation forces, and the right of Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Foreign Ministry added that Israel's disavowal of the signed agreements and non-compliance with international legitimacy results led to the destruction of a peace process and the absence of a solution to the Palestinian issue after 75 of suffering and displacement. And in different Palestinian cities, citizens gathered on the streets to celebrate what they see as a success of the resistance to the Israeli occupation. One of the main rallies took place in Nablus-occupied West Bank, where hundreds of Palestinians marched along the main avenues of the city. Similar demonstrations were held in different parts of the country, and in the areas where the offensive was successful, the fighters were celebrated. Some of those present there considered the advance as an act of justice in the face of the atrocities committed by the Israeli regime. Let's take a very first break, but remember, you can now join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. On Friday in Paraguay, 4 people were injured and another 2 were intoxicated in a fire that ran across 20 houses in a poor neighborhood in Asunción. The fire flames spread quickly among the houses in the neighborhood of Chacarita near the side of the former Congress building in a historic center of the Paraguayan capital. In just a few hours, volunteer firefighters managed to control the flames. Fire Prevention Director Alejandro Busso said that approximately 60 to 100 local residents suffered directly or indirectly from the fire. Saturday morning in Colombia was marked by a new act of violence in the department of Huila, as signatory of the peace agreements and his grandson were murdered. According to the Institute for Development and Peace Studies, in the past, Gerardo Piso Ortiz and his 16-year-old grandson were killed with a firearm. The event took place between the Alpina and San Vicente sector in the rural zone of the municipality of La Plata. In the past, records indicated that the number of signatories murdered since the signing of the peace agreements amount to 398, and there are already 43 since the beginning of the year. In Ecuador, at least 6 people died due to an event inside of the detention center in Guayaquil. A communique from the Service for Detention for People Deprived of Liberty indicated that the police and criminal investigations authorities are at a place to identify the facts and to safeguard the area, but it does not give details about the cause of the incident. In this regard, President Guillermo Lasso expressed that he will meet with the security cabinet on his return to the country to learn the truth of that case. Canadian authorities confirmed COVID-19 outbreak at the Victoria General Hospital in British Columbia, where nearly 11 infected patients were detected in an intensive care unit. In view of this situation, the health authorities re-established the mandatory use of a mask for health workers, volunteers, and visitors in health care centers. In September, the Canadian government authorized the use of the new Pfizer and Moderna vaccines in the presence of the new Omicron XBB.1.5 variant. Also, the Ontario Public Health Department reported a prevalent increase in positive tests with 9.9% out of the more 12,000 screened tests. In the United States, a massive strike by health workers of the Care Center Permanent Consortium is on its third and supposedly just date, but not agreed on side. The strike could be extended. This is the largest health care workers strike in the history of the United States, involving more than 75,000 employees who are demanding wage increases and denouncing staff shortages. The nationwide strike began on Wednesday. It was initially scheduled to end on Saturday morning. However, the coalition of unions involved in the strike announced that a 10-day strike notice could be issued because they executives are negotiating in bad faith and continue to implement unfair labor practices. France is on alert after 7 schools were closed due to a plague of bed bugs affecting several parts of the country. The partial schools closure after the 1,500 students across the country in cities like Marseille, Ponopon, and Lens report that not all the schools in which bed bugs were found are completely closed. It also tried to reassure the public by stressing that there are nearly 60,000 schools in the country and that bed bugs have only been found in a few dozen. Let's take our last break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to watch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. One financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Afghanistan, over 2,000 people have died in the earthquake that General Western on Saturday, says Mulad Jan, said the spokesperson for the Ministry of Disaster Management. Authorities said 9,240 people were injured and 1,320 houses damaged or destroyed. A powerful earthquake has struck Afghanistan, rocking the mountainous country and leaving a trail of death and destruction. A magnitude 6.3 earthquake followed by 3 strong aftershock hit western Afghanistan on Saturday. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, supporters of Felix Tshisekedi, gathered in front of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Kinshasa. At the same time, the current president of the Republic presented his candidacy for a second term, thus joining the already long list of candidates for the presidency of the turbulent Central African country. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, also known as Congo-Kinshasa, is a country in Central Africa and is the second largest country in the African continent. The military junta that came to power in Nigeria through a coup at the end of July announced a decrease reduction in the national budget for 2023 due to the various international sanctions which affect the country's economy, which depends mostly of foreign partners. According to the statement of the regime in a press release, Nigeria has faced heavy sanctions imposed by international and regional organizations. These sanctions expose the countries to a significant drop in both external and internal revenue. Therefore, it is necessary to revise the 2023 budget forecasts. Thus, The revised budget amount is 1,981 billion CFA francs compared to 3,291 billion initially planned, a drop of 40%. A year is offering heavy economic and financial sanctions imposed on July the 30th by ECOWAS, which have led to a strong inflation of food products and even the shortages of certain medicines. Hundreds of Muslims and conservative Christians in Kenya's capital rallied outside the Supreme Court to protest its decision last month to reaffirm the LGBTQ community's rights of association. Protesters says that the very condones immorality and demands that some judges step down. The court last month reaffirmed an early rally that non-governmental organizations board in Kenya and discriminated against LGBTQ people when it refuses to register their association. The two dissenting judges opposed the ruling because Kenya's law bans same-sex relationships. Iran's military chief of staff Mohammad Hussein Bagheri declared that his country is ready to provide full support to Syria to put an end to terrorism in the region. In a letter issued by the Iranian Ministry of Defense following the terrorist attack on the military academy in Homs, Syria, Bagheri condemns the tragic event and expressed his condolences to the families of more than 80 deaths, while wishing a speedy recovery to all the injured. For his part, the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi hailed the protectorate of the territories, especially the occupying forces in Syrian territory responsible for these events. The Russian government reported that the Russian anti-aircraft defense destroyed a Ukrainian drone that was heading towards the district of Istra. The Ministry of Defense reported that air defense forces shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle which was flying towards Moscow. Due to the rapid Russian action, no damage to any of the facilities near the attack was recorded, nor any injured after the debris fell from the destruction. The military agency qualified this as a new attempt of terrorism attack by the Kiev authorities, while the Department of Defense neutralized another Ukrainian drone flying over the Black Sea, less 10 kilometers from the Crimean Peninsula. We have come to the end of this brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also use us on our socials. We're on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.